Welcome to the Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And this week on the Weekly, so we'll start a little sad. So a farewell to Paul Sawyer and WotC's DMCA debacle. They just can't stay out of their own way.
Can't.
And I'm curious of your opinion of Free5E. There's a Kickstarter for that, but
why is there a Kickstarter if it's free?
You'll see.
All right.
You will see. You will
All
see.
right.
And we talked about it after the cast last week, but the Alien RPG Evolved Edition. So we'll kind of go through what and why that is, and why it's hard to get excited about it, and why they might be doing it. Right. all the whys. All right. So let's start with some sad news. We talked about this at the end of last year because there was an incident where Paul collapsed at a convention. Okay. And so people were suspecting there were health problems, and it turned out to be true. So it was just announced by Warlord Games, which he was a co-founder of, that the legend of the wargaming community, Paul Sawyer, has passed away last week. So that was March 27th. And it was after a long battle with brain cancer. Mm-hmm. So Warlord Games put out an announcement. It is with great regret that we announce that the co-founder of Warlord Games, Paul Sawyer, passed away the evening of the 27th of March, 2025, after a long battle with brain cancer. He was an enormous character and fought tooth and nail to the end, but always in good spirits. He was a true friend to us all. That he passed surrounded by the love of his family is a blessing. So we offer condolences to Paul's family. Paul was not a man that to be made a fuss of. He'd perhaps not even thank us for writing this short dedication. We believe it would be his wish that we carry on unabated. We shall strive to continue to shape Warlord Games upon the immensely strong foundations he put in place. And the nice part of this posting is then they opened it for comments at the bottom, and people just truly a sad day, and then just remembrances, the iconic battle report of Glazer's Farm in White Dwarf 222. So he worked for Games Workshop and also on White Dwarf, and doing a lot of the things that people remember were the Tale of Four Gamers battle reports that were very iconic.
Yeah, I hadn't realized he'd worked in White Dwarf.
Yeah, and that was and people and these remembrances are White Dwarf was at its best under Paul's watch, and we have with John Stallard, he produced things like Black Powder and Bolt Action. I mean, those are going to be around forever. I think those people really like those systems. They're a great way to play historical gaming. It's really sad. Yeah, people said my heart sank when I read the news.
Well, Warlord Games put out that charity figure of him.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's very, very sad, but it's good to see this, like that his he will be remembered and his work will live on, and especially not because imagine if he would have passed still being an employee of Games Workshop. This would not be the situation.
Okay, one would. I don't know. I hope that would not be the case.
Yeah, right? I hope so. Yeah, I hope we would have a decent announcement, but I think everybody retires from that company before they're too long in the tooth. I think they feed off the young blood, because I don't think any of the
no comment there
any of the big names have hung in there.
But I mean, I think it kind of go okay. I don't know him personally. I don't know most of the stuff about him, but if people are doing this, then it kind of goes to show you, be the type of person that is going to be written about like this when you die, as opposed to people slamming you, right? If that's why I was thinking along those lines when you brought up GW, okay, if he had continued to work for GW and if he had continued to be the same person, I would like to think that people would still be talking positively about him, right?
Right.
It's only when you act like a complete asshole that people write that stuff after you're dead, right?
Yeah, but also the kind of regime change at Games Workshop. I mean, they're not gonna. I don't think just the same way that Wizards of the Coast is writing shit about Gary Gygax. I mean, it's like in their introductions to books. Why would you do that? And so I would suspect that Games Workshop
circles back to my don't be the type of person that people feel the need to write shit about. Right?
Yeah, but I mean, you can dig up something bad to say about anybody.
Can you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, there is no purity test that anyone will survive completely. Nobody. I mean,
I'm
Mother
sure.
Teresa. I mean, what list would you like to start with? The people that were just, sainted, but actually, complete scumbags.
That's the Catholic Church. Right. No,
Yes.
I don't. Okay, I don't disagree, but I think, and kind of getting back off topic here, right? Like, I am sure that, like, you could be like, okay, this is the worst thing the person did, and like, okay, it's probably like minuscule, right? Anyway.
But yeah, the scale of people's
scale
flaws
of stuff,
is changed dramatically. But let's move on to something even more depressing with the mistakes made in gaming. So Wizards of the Coast said, we didn't mean to send a DMCA takedown notice, but they did anyhow. So there was a Baldur's Gate 3 esque mod for Stardew Valley. So it was called Baldur's Village.
Okay.
And the creators of this, so it's a fan project, and the creators of this, so you're basically taking all the characters of Baldur's Gate and making them dateable and farmable. You can farm with them and marry them, whatever, in Stardew Valley.
All right.
So they approached the creator approached Sven Vinke, the head of Larian Games, and ask, is it okay if we do this? This is just a fan thing. We're not selling this. And he said, you have my permission. I don't see anything.
So basically,
wrong. He didn't have a problem with it.
To my understanding, the fan used names and likenesses from Baldur's Gate.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And
so not like with the serial numbers filed off. Just
the names and the pixel art likenesses.
Yep.
And so WotC sent them a digital takedown notice, and because it was hosted on Nexus Mod, so easy to find. So the head of Larian said that there are good ways of dealing with this. You didn't have to do that. WotC issued an apology. You can once again now download Baldur's Village.
Okay.
And they issued a statement. The Baldur's Village DMCA takedown was issued mistakenly. We are sorry about that. We are in the process of fixing that. So fans of the Stardew community can continue to enjoy this great mod.
Send mistakenly. What'd you do? Like, did your finger slip on the DCMA takedown keyboard button?
Yeah, people were trying to figure out. They were thinking maybe they use like a third party like IP watchdog that just automatically. It's just there's all kinds of people making money off of this stuff. So just because that stuff runs a little rampant in some communities, especially on YouTube. And they're issued mistakenly, maybe. But this reminded people of the 2024 attack on the YouTuber that showed the player's handbook unacceptably early and was having his
person have
videos
Pinkerton sent to them too?
Yeah, probably. Well, it wasn't magic, so maybe not. Yeah, but so this is just something they do, and they just don't care how bad this makes them look. That's the funny part about it. It's like, okay, I guess we'll apologize if we have to. So Nexus, the Nexus mods and the endorsement, So this is an incredibly creative crossover for Stardew Valley that the community loves, and it was nothing. Of course,
they killed him.
You're right. Yeah, right. It was nothing less than what we expected. So the it was refreshing to see that the CEO of Larian was supportive.
Right.
So and these things don't matter much to WotC. So they're saying, the creator said, hopefully this was an oversight, and it's great that it's back up. But hunting down, violating content might be something that they don't even do in house. So
probably not. Well, then I guess like saying, oh, it was a mistake.
Right. But
that's the best they're going to say, right?
Right. Yeah. But if you do have a problem with WotC and 5e, why not try Free5E? So it's D&D for everybody.
Why would I do that?
Yep. There we go. Okay. So,
all right.
So I'm curious about this. So, So Free5E is the first full open source 5e compatible system designed for accessibility, inclusion, and global play. So Wormworks Publishing is officially launching a Kickstarter for Free5E. So it went live on March 25th. It's a full variant of 5e. So fully free, open sourced, without corporate licensing or financial barriers. So it's not a light version of D&D. It's a complete open alternative designed with accessibility and community at its core. So this ambitious project was was done to take and basically was inspired by the OGL debacle, and the announcement of this project was actually on the 2-year anniversary of that.
Okay.
So they're going to release 3 core books: the Player's Guide, a GM Handbook, and the Free Range Monsters. Completely free to download and play. These books are packed with all the character creation tools, game master guidance, diverse bestiary, and plenty of options for creating rich, immersive experiences for both players and GMs. They're going to keep it open source, licensed under the Creative Commons attribution, which I think the 5e SRD either is or has already gone under. And so that means that anyone, so amateur creators, established publishers, teachers, therapists, friendly local game stores, churches, community groups, conventions, anyone can modify it, adapt it, share and publish it, and even sell free 5e content without restrictions. So they're trying to provide unprecedented freedom to innovate, translate, and build upon the system.
Okay.
So they're trying to, of course, foster creative ownership. So they'll let you use the rules, the human-made art from the books, and other tools as the foundation for your own project, which you're free to sell. And for accessibility, they're going to make things available in dyslexia-friendly PDFs, digital braille, EPUB, Markdown, and other formats, and also at-cost print-on-demand options are available if you want a hardcover book or physical books. So yeah, you'll and also in the rules. So what they're trying to do with the 5e rules is kind of make them as completely inclusive as possible. So build characters with disabilities using 3 different systems for inclusion, greater representation across the table. It'll weave diversity and inclusion throughout the system as part of the goal to invite everyone to play.
Okay.
And as part of the open licensing, that it will allow for easy translation. So any language, dialect, or cultural context, because original 5e has a limited non-English. It has very limited non-English editions. There's just very specific languages or markets that they even go for. So they launched the Kickstarter and basically set these stretch goal levels. So they are funding the production of the books, like the completing. And I think they said that. I forget they have produced us the books to a certain level, but to finish things off. So for the Player's Guide, it's 14,000. To get the GM's Guide, they want to get to 31, and then 52 will get you. Then all 3 will be produced, but then they'll be out there in the wild. And what they're going to do to kind of maybe a public television crowdfunder kind of thing is to give you something for you're supporting this project, and it is going to be a free project, so you're not going to have to pay for it once it's done. But they'll do printable game tools, engraved GM screens, metal art prints, and other kind of promotional or like signs that you've promoted this project as a way to you'll get something in return for your support. So
it's kind of like the PBS pledge drive.
Yeah, it is. A coffee mug and a tote bag. Yes.
Which I don't have no problem with that, right? Okay.
And so so they see this as a massive step for the TTRPG community. It was announced on the 2nd anniversary of the OGL debacle. What they really want to do is welcome new players, provide representation for marginalized communities, ensure the benefits of TTRPGs remain accessible to all, regardless of background or ability, forever. So right now you can download a draft of the manuscripts for free on DriveThru. I'll put a link in the description. And yeah, so I think for the next month, the crowdfunder will be going on, and they're really trying to get grassroots feedback and improve this initial draft so that they can release this and truly make 5e free and open for everyone everywhere. So will they succeed, and why did they choose this system?
Well, that was the whole thing I was thinking while you were reading through that, right? Like, okay, the goals you have set seem pretty, I don't mean monetary, but like the goals you have set seem pretty noble, right? And seem, I would argue, important, right? Okay, like, yes, I agree with what you're trying to do here. My knee-jerk reaction was, why 5e? Why 5e? And then my second knee-jerk, because you got 2, was, like it or not, 5e is still, or Dungeons & Dragons is still the world's most noticeable role-playing game, right? Like, that's where people, like we've talked any number of times about what other game has like blockbuster movie about it, right? So again, it's just, why this game? Well, I know why this game, right? I would, don't know if I want to have time to do it. I would want to read through the manuscript to see if I feel they actually achieve all those goals.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it is quite an ask to be able to produce something that nobody will feel, especially if they're not going to, get away from Eurocentric fantasy. It's still got
nowhere in here do they talk anything about setting.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. So it is just the,
it might might just be the rules. Right?
It is. Yeah, it is interesting if they are going to come up. Is that enough of a system though that so they want any cultural context to be able to shift this too. So if you don't have knights and dragons and wizards in your culture, but you have shaman and spirit guides and things, if you can,
and I hope whatever culture you come from actually has those things instead of you just like writing about someone else's culture. But anyway, okay, sorry. Right.
No, would this truly be adaptable? And them actually talking about like different systems of inclusion to build in.
That's mostly what I want to read.
Yeah, so the disabilities don't. I don't know. It's a lot because.
Like it's noble goals, right? Like definitely something we should be like aiming for. I think I have it as a PDF, but I haven't actually read like the Evil Hat Fate accessibility toolkit, which deals with stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
And that's been won all kinds of awards or held up as like ways to add inclusion or have inclusion in games. And I should probably read them and compare them, right? Because I want to see whether or not this Free5E kind of meets its own goals, right? But we were talking about like, it can't be completely generic, right?
Right.
Because like someone had a really good example, like a completely generic role-playing game would be like, I attack with my weapon against the monster, right? Like classes, and it's because I think this is a class and level-based system, right? Any classes you include, fighter, or it could be the original, right? Like fighter, thief, mage. As soon as you go something like knight, right? Or the very old samurai, ninja, right? As soon as you start going that way, rules say something about the setting. Right? So I'm thinking along those lines too about whether or not it's completely kind of a game for all cultures.
Yeah, so because they're doing their own monster manual, so they are going to
probably because stuff like Beholders and all that other Githyanki and Illithids or whatever are not public domain.
Right. But that is going to also, because those come from myths and legend and folktale. Those creatures come from other cultures, so they are going to do some sort of light appropriation, whether they depending on how generic.
Yeah. But I think D&D has become its own genre. And the monsters in D&D, I think, have become their own thing, right? So unless you start doing like the kind of outdated monster manual, genie, right? Like there are some monsters that are not generic, but I think generic enough where they feel more D&D than someone else's, than a specific culture, right? But if you start doing some kind of like the ridiculous like Marco Polo 5e kind of thing, right, where we're like, we're going to go down the Silk Road, I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, right? Once you start doing stuff like that, then no, you're not all culture. So I don't know.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing to attempt, and it's a weird thing. I mean, there are some developments. I think like advantage. I think like that the idea of advantage and disadvantage for roles, which has been now included in other systems, was a good thing that came from 5e, and it's a good thing. They
didn't do it first.
Yeah, but that's been very standardized. No. Yeah,
it has been standard.
Well, so people really think about that as a kind of a default feature. So there are some things that you can some reasons, but 5e does make you insanely powerful for a first level, second level.
I'm not even really worried about that. Like, I know why they chose. I'm going to have to go read this to see how close to 5e it is, or other D20 games, right? I know why they started with 5e, because it's just an 800-pound gorilla in the room, and everyone knows it, and it was probably the best way to make things compatible with other D20 games, right?
And it rhymes with free.
It rhymes with free. Ish, right? It kills me that a game as mechanically complex as Dungeons and Dragons is still seen as the gateway point to the hobby, right? Where it like everyone has heard anecdotes about people playing other games and be like, oh, right, it's like this, like we could just play like this, we build a character like this, we don't have to do all this like other stuff with other so I don't know. Like if they were going for like an on-ramp, okay, I guess you've got these warring things between like actually being newcomer friendly,
right,
for both players and people running it, and visibility. So
yeah, and it's kind of one of those. So this makes the kind of vague nods and things that WotC is doing towards, inclusion and changing, going for species and things. It makes it look so corporate and half-assed when
it does. Well, it is. It was right. You're telling me it wasn't corporate and half-assed,
but you're gonna have somebody just step in and say, no, this is what you would have had to do if those were your actual intentions. This is the system you would have made. That's the funny thing about it is it's just like, of course this is going to happen. If you're just going to vaguely suggest, 5e should probably be a little more open. Okay, here, this is
how you do
it. Here it is. So take a look. You can get that the manuscript for free, and of course suggest what they're looking for the feedback. So take a look at that system.
Use something other than 5e.
And say, just don't do 5e. But so we'll see. We'll see if we hear about this again. We'll see if this actually catches on, and people start publishing with it and everything, because that would be amazing for something to start. And
especially if they start doing zines where people can photocopy at home, because that's about what we're going back to.
Right. Yeah, we're going to be at that point soon. And finally, something we talked about, an evolved edition, one could say, a game that didn't really need fixing, but they figured, why not? So yes, the Alien RPG from Free League Publishing is getting an evolved edition, and they're also releasing another cinematic adventure, Rapture Protocol,
which is based on Romulus, right?
Oh yeah, maybe that's what they're saying, that what they're including. So maybe the derelict space station or something again, or some research facility. The Year Zero engine. This project is going to give you a core rule book, a starter set, and the adventure, the Rapture Protocol box set, as well as some other things that get a little pricey. So the most popular pledge that people might want to go for, that really kind of turned me off, so if I do this, I'm gonna have to do it piecemeal, is for $165 you'll get the core rule book with the revised one, the revised starter set, and this box, and a box of miniatures only for Rapture Protocol. So they're not going to be that generic. They're going to be the pre-gen characters for the cinematic adventure Rapture Protocol, and I'm sure they'll follow up with more miniatures. But miniatures, that seems
well. I think we have the same feeling here. And the way combat in Alien RPG works, it's zones, right? So you're not counting squares, you're not measuring distances. I mean, stealth mode is a bit like that old like Space Hulk game where you just have like markers kind of on the board, right? When you don't exactly know what stuff is. So
there's movement.
My charitable feeling here is that like the figures could just be basically tokens. Right? To show
which is what they really
are, right?
Yeah.
So, but you also don't need them.
Yeah, right. And I have hundreds of alien themes.
But are they 20th Century Fox aliens? No, sir, they are not. Right?
Yeah, so it's like I don't really need, and there are already a couple of different franchises for the miniatures board games, like with aliens. So there's a board game for the setting of the first movie, the Alien movie, and then there's a colonial marine setting that's added a lot of expansions. I forget who's doing that, but there is a ton of miniatures already out there.
But are they official?
For Alien. Yeah, these are officially licensed. Yeah, these are all Fox officially licensed. So these are all official Alien miniatures board games and war games. So I don't know. It makes sense that they would just focus on the adventure they're releasing, so you could have the guys you'd like. And so of course Alien does a good job. It has cinematic adventures, which are basically
Movies.
Movies. Everyone's gonna die. This is very brutal. So it feels like the Alien setting, but there's also a campaign mode, and so maybe that's another thing they're trying to clarify is what would make an interesting campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So what is revised in this Evolved Edition? So improved rules for their stealth mode, their panic rolls, ammo, armor, grenades, zero gravity play, and also then the inclusion of Alien Romulus. Because any technology, anything they made nods to, or even in the setting, like who's doing what, will now be included in the timeline. And that's an interesting thing, because you would think a franchise like Alien that's had such disparate sequels and it's gone weird places, and now we're going to get a streaming series on Earth. Yes. So, and there's also been a lot of Dark Horse comics about this. And this RPG has done a nice job of kind of unifying that. You can include things from all of these, different media that have been, that kind of are part of the IP, but you might not like it or you might not want to, because from Prometheus to Alien versus Predator kind of mythos that's gotten in there, it's all possible. So that's pretty impressive, because it seems like quite a mess and quite a thing to sort out. So do you think they did this revision because maybe Fox offered them the license to you can include Romulus if you re-release it and you pay us again?
It also has been, 5? No, I forget how long it's been since the core book came out. Right?
Yeah, I think it's been about 5 years. Yeah, it's close to that. Maybe 2019.
I mean, it's not 5 years, right? Like, if it's as popular, just people playing it, right? Stuff's going to come up, right? Best practices are going to develop, and it makes sense for a publisher to go, oh, you know what? This does kind of make more sense. Or people are forgetting that, my point is 5 years seems like a reasonable amount of time to do a cleanup, right? Or a revise, right?
Right.
That's fine. And, I mean, it is a licensed game, so like you said, maybe Fox said, okay, we'll give you Romulus if you put it to Kickstarter and do another version, right?
Or they'd have to do that just to cover the license.
Or that, right? Yeah. So
but one of the tempting things about this is the layouts are going to be done by Johan Nohr of Morkborg fame.
They're going to readable, sir.
They look really clean. And the interesting thing about them is they're going to be on not totally like sheer white, but kind of an off-white, so kind of like the manuals,
which I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, but the manuals that they do, they would have like in the first Alien movie, kind of a shitty brown manual. That's kind of what these things look like if you were flipping through a book aboard that.
You know what I want to see? I want to see a retro sci-fi game put on like that punch paper stuff. Remember the one that had like the things that your printer could roll it up, right? Anyway,
the dot matrix.
Yeah, the dot matrix.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Anyway, no, I liked the black. I liked the black. Right. It left fingerprints like nobody's business. But, anyway.
Right. Yeah, and so I think Star Trek had that same thing when they did their next edition. They said, okay, we're not going to do the wacky layouts. Now we're going to make it. So maybe we're not seeing the full the full talent of Nohr in this edition, but it looks very readable. And you can see a little bit of that on the design for the graphics for the Kickstarter page.
Yeah, readability and usability is important. The product is meant to be used.
Yes.
Looking at you, more porg.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So they're doing a limited edition cover again for the rule book. The one thing that made me pause again is, this isn't that old, and I'm glad I didn't buy either of these in physical form, because the Colonial Marines Operation Manual and Building Better Worlds are getting revisions as well.
Damn it. I think I got a physical copy.
Yes. So that's a little bit frustrating. And to get everything that's offered for this Kickstarter, you're looking at about $500. So that's a lot. But yeah, so the starter set, the Rapture Protocol, a standard core book, miniature set, the cinematic bundle, the collector's rule book, and then they go up to so the engineer bundle, I guess, engineer, is is where you're getting everything they're producing, which is extra base dice, extra stress dice. Oh, the lapel pin set. You get an honorable mention in the book, and then the two revised for the Colonial Marines and Colonist books. So that was a little frustrating, and that's a lot of stuff to buy piecemeal. And
maybe the books, one ebooks will be a bit cheaper. because I'll snap those up.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Is that the physical books for that previous edition? Yeah, because those are nice looking books, and it's going to be, they're going to add Romulus to it, but the setting, all the setting stuff and everything will remain the same. There may be some like stats tweaks you may need to make, but that's about it. But so I'll put a link to that. It's a great game. If you haven't played it, and if they have improved it, then this might be a great chance to jump on it. It's a little bit strange though to say it's a starter set, because I think it's just the first cinematic adventure. It's just Cradle of what?
Oh, Charity of the Gods.
Charity of the Gods,
which is a good one. Right?
But it's like that's not a starting adventure. That's a rough. I mean, these cinematic adventures are not baby's first space.
Are we talking like themes and setting, or like mechanics?
I think mechanics, like dealing with like, oh my god, this stress. These stress dice are painful. Things that are happening to my character are pretty insane. Like you do have the expectations from the Alien movies that this is going to be rough, but a cinematic adventure is a rough way to start.
What are you supposed to do? Just like go to the local pizza joint and have a beer or something? Like that's not Alien. Right? I don't know. I was trying to think of something like soft and cuddly or whatever, but I don't know.
Yeah, so I was just unboxing the Fallout starter set. And that's only pre-gens, and they do start you out with just like unraveling a mystery, and it's deadly like the Fallout games are, but it's not like mind-blowing where you're like, holy crap, everybody's dead. A starter set, your first adventure where it's like total party kill is crazy.
But it's a cinematic scenario, right? Like we said, like this is basically a it is a movie, right? It's an Aliens movie, and you don't go to an Aliens movie to watch people survive, right? You're just like, you know what? Didn't see one xenomorph. Everyone's alive.
Got a job to do. I'm gonna
what the heck was
start
this
colonizing,
movie,
right? No, that's true. It's just it is. It's interesting that if you have the expectations of a starter set where, let's fight some rats and goblins and get into it. This is not it.
Try that and see what happens to Chariot of the Gods, right?
Right. Yeah. Yes.
But I don't know. Like, I'm going to have to go soon. But, like, I've run Chariot of the God, three times for groups of varying levels of RPG understandingness, right? And not once in one of those games did everyone go, right? Because I made this is Alien, right? You know exactly what's going to happen. Right. And even if the mechanics were a bit like, what do I do with it? And it's like this, like the things that were happening in the game, it was like, right? People were, once you set them up to know that it's like ready. An Alien game, no one said I wasn't expecting this, right? It was like, no, anyway. Yeah,
it's just, knowing that all those pre-gens are going to die is, but it's something that, starter sets don't normally do. So I think that's funny that it's not its own thing, there's So
what would it be? I'm still wondering what a non-lethal alien cinematics are.
If you had to deal with some sort of infestation and you didn't know what it was, and you're basically escaping at the end. So there was mystery. It's setting up what you can do, how you can defend yourself. There really isn't a good starting adventure for this because and I think that's the problem that the campaign mode has a little bit of is how many sessions are we going to do without xenomorphs?
That is a whole nother topic. And that's why I think the strength of the Alien RPG is the cinematic scenarios. And I honestly think that's what they should focus on because, okay, sure, you can do a campaign and then it becomes all on the group to come up with your own story and do it. But like you said, how many sessions has it been since we've seen this anymore? Right? Or we're all going to get through this, right? Because we got to play next session, right? Right? That is, right? So that's why I think just, hey, Freely, just keep putting out more cinematic scenarios because it doesn't matter, right? You're playing a movie.
And that's the thing is then if you were just making up your own campaign, you wouldn't have to ever buy anything from them again. But if they do really good cinematic adventures, you'll keep coming back and wanting to play the next part or the next piece.
And I said, even if you've played it, okay, it is a bit like a movie where you're going to possibly spoil things, right, when you've played it. But I mean, you run it again with a different group, right? Or even or you play a different character, or like it's not exactly the same, right? But you're like, I wonder what happens if we do this time,
right?
Or
Yeah, yeah.
it almost becomes like, can we make it to the end, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like an escape room.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yes. All right. So that is going to do it for this week. So where can people find you?
Blue Sky and Instagram a little bit. That's Hivemind, HYVEMYND, where I'm mostly retweeting political crap. But I did find something. There is a October 2025. There's going to be a second edition of Dragon Rampant, which is
nice.
the Daniel Mercy's Lion Rampant, Xenos Rampant, now Dragon Rampant, the fantasy one. There's a second edition. I'm very excited for that. I've already pre-ordered it.
Oh, nice. So looking forward to a Tiny Dragon Rampant second edition. Okay.
Yeah. 2 millimeters, so I can just reuse the historical stuff I've got. Anyway.
Nice. Excellent.
So how about you?
I don't know how this is going. So Abuse Cartoons, I draw a single panel gag cartoon that is published on Go Comics. They recently did a whole revision of their website.
Okay.
The resolution of my cartoons looks like crap.
Oh no.
So I'm gonna have to go back and recreate 2,000 cartoons so they look better on the website. But that is gocomics.com/domestic abuse. It's a beautiful new website. All the comments are gone. I hope they're going to re-import that. So all my comments are gone. Oh, the followers are still there, but the comments are gone. There's a link to that in the description. And I draw that once a month. I'll do a live stream where I draw those cartoons, and maybe I'll do a long resizing session where you see me like go through, create some sort of Photoshop action, and like try to automate this thing because it's going to be a mess. But yes, but if you like what we're doing here on the weekly, consider becoming a weekling.
The strongest of all supporters.
Yes, on patreon.com/upturned table. There you can get exclusive content and get stuff early. I just released the unboxing for the Fallout starter set, and it gives you a good taste of how they, with 2D20, how they did Fallout. And I think
Cakewalk where everyone survives.
Yes, they really successfully, as janky and deadly and hoardy that Fallout is, they recreated that well. So take a look at that if you're a member or a patron, and
if you're not,
we may release it eventually. And also keep an eye out. Tomorrow we're going to continue. We're going to be shuffling players a little bit, but we'll be doing another Fallout adventure for our actual play. And so that's Upturned Table on all social media. Subscribe to this channel if you want to get notified when we go live for the actual play or for the recording of the weekly. And so the weekly is now, it's an RSS feed on Google. So an audio and a video version comes out, and then there's a regular RSS feed, and the audio for this entire live stream comes out on the Patreon RSS feed. And I'm figuring out a way to make that work for members of YouTube, which I think I can, but it's going to be a little more manual. So thanks for joining us, and we will be back again next week.
Later, mortals.
Goodbye.